We'll start off today talking about tackling corruption. I was joined this morning by Mr. Ikpe, who is the chairman of ICPC. Thank you for coming out this morning.
Thank you.
Well, about this bailout funds, there was a publication that the ICPC carried out a comprehensive research in conjunction with the NLC, and you in that publication said that the commission that the governors actually lied, that they were owing workers salaries. Could you tell us about that?
We did release such a publication, but those original publications we released were interpreted in various ways by different media houses. And I must say that quite a number did not state clearly what we had spelled out. Most of them added what they thought was what should have happened. We had never at any time said that bailout funds were diverted as it was widely published. If you go through the main report, we stated as it was. In some states, the funds were requested for and allocated, but they were not used for the purpose. And we stated clearly the state involved. They went to their State House of Assembly and said, look, we've already paid salaries. Could we use this to defray other issues? And we reported it clearly the way it was, and that state has not objected to that. Note that that report covered up to December 2015, and for one or two states, February 2016. And we say we're going to have an update. Now, how did we do the report? We got each accountant general of the state to fill the forms stating how much was received, how much was disbursed, and we went to the banks to check. We wrote to CBN, can we have the list of what you had released? And so we matched that. We wasn't coming out with the part 2 of our report, but you see some people started jumping the gun and screaming that, oh, this has happened, this has not happened. We stated exactly what we saw on paper. Now, the intention of the bailout monitoring was not to run down states. It was a governance tool to help them in terms of placement of funds that you have collected. Like I have heard now, some have seen it as something to help bridge the budget. Yes, but you must explain at every step what you are doing. At the banks, we have access to banks. We saw some payments that were made into some other accounts, and we had asked we would be interested in following this up. It was later we were told, okay, it was used for paying footballers' salaries that we had owed for 2 months. That was in furtherance of the investigation. Well, let me not put it as investigation, of the information we had put out. Now, what has that report achieved? 2 basic things. Now, states are much more aware of the fact that if you take out this kind of bailout funds, you would have to explain to your people how you had used it. And now there's a new condition attached that why are you even having bailout funds to pay salaries which might not be going to civil servants, for example? So let's do an in-house check again. So some states have gone ahead to do what federal government had done, the integrated personnel payroll information system. And I'm very happy that one of the states broadcast theirs live, which showed that quite a number of persons they had been paying were not supposed to be on the payroll and were not on the payroll.
You know, you've already spoken on the motive. You say, yes, you know, why you were interested in this bailout fund. You say that is to ensure that, you know, states, to enable some governance, good governance, as
sure,
it were. But you've not been interested in what comes out of the FAC allocation and how it's shared and how it is that states utilize their own share of the money that comes from the federation account, have you?
Well, you see, you have this is a federation.
Yeah.
Each federating unit has its own parliament as to how it should appropriate and what it should use their funds for. So ordinarily, you should not be overbearing as to what each state is using its allocations for, except there are imputations of corruption, which now brings it under the ambit of the Corrupt Practices Act.
Did you sense an imputation of corruption? Was that why you followed through with the bailout funds?
No. There's a need to understand some of the functions of ICPC, which is basically over 70% is preventive. And so we don't wait for certain corrupt practices to take place and then we begin to run after everybody on the street. What we do is we preempt and we look at your systems and say, look, there's a strong likelihood of this happening if you don't do X, Y, Z. Now, I'll tell you, like one of the states we've been involved in, I think Gombe, in the course of doing our job some 2 years ago, the governor came to us and said, please, could you look at our internally generated revenue and see if you can look at processes that could lead to diversion of funds. And we just completed that report. And we fixed an appointment to go and make a presentation. Those services are available. We run corruption risk assessment reports in various sectors. And I can tell you that way back 2012, we had actually trained a whole lot of civil societies across the country on budget monitoring. So it's civil societies that should, within your states, generate processes that monitor how funds are spent or appropriated in your state and in the local government areas. Now, can you look at the situation where at the local government you have their own appropriation committees and they say we're going to drill boreholes in XYZ and thereafter nobody is monitoring. Whereas if you have civil societies publishing within their local governments that look, we heard and we have received documentation that this is what is due to your local government area or your ward, then the pressure now goes back to the councillor. Because his community will ask, we saw in the report that we are supposed to have a borehole. Where is the borehole? Now, if there was an intention to divert such funds, the councillor goes back to the chairman and says to him, look, there's pressure from my home that this has been allocated to us, so we must do it. Unlike in the past where you wait, that group leaves, and then you write a petition to ICPC. One, the money is gone. Two, I'm going to spend money again, running around all local governments to find out what has happened.
I do agree with you that ICPC, I mean, should engage in preventive corruption. It's just that people will also ask why it is that, you know, in particular about the bailout funds. Is it as a result of precedents, you know, or what exactly has informed the focus
on bailout funds?
Yes.
Yes, because as of the time we got involved, almost all states have not been able to pay salaries. And if you look at the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, part of the preventive recommendation there is that you must have a viral civil service that is well paid and well motivated. So you don't wait to have a total collapse of the civil service structure before you begin to set up committees and asking why did this happen.
Shouldn't he have been taken for granted? Because you just said that a lot of states had not paid salaries, which was one of the reasons why they got the bailouts in the first instance. Couldn't we have taken it for granted that automatically, if states were getting this fund, they were going to be paying salaries?
Okay, let's even go back one step. Until this incident happened, states had been paying salaries, right? But did not remove the fact that those persons they were paying should not have been on their payroll. So it means that a whole lot of people who had been taking those funds that were meant for development had doing what should not have been done. So when this crunch came, it was an opportunity even for the states to learn.